All right, how about the Arizona Cardinals here? I have to say, so I put them as losers in my initial video I made, where I made 7 losers of day 1 of the draft, and in hindsight, that was just a mistake. I shouldn't have put them there. I will retract that statement, because one of the things they did, and we're gonna get into the picks by picks and all that stuff in just a second, but one of the things they did before any of this happened was the trade back to the Texans was fantastic. It was amazing, and I didn't give them enough credit for that day 1, so I'm going to give them their due now. Getting the Texans' first-round pick, that could legitimately be a first overall pick. Like, that's not out of the question that they could get that next year. So, I believe the 2 teams that are the favorites to get the first overall pick next year are the Cardinals and the Texans, so getting both of those first-round selections is awesome. Why did I put them as the losers? Well, I didn't love the trade back up to get Paris Johnson Jr. I would have rather they just sat there at, where they were at, and I think they could have still gotten a good offensive lineman to help out protecting Kyler Murray. In fact, I'm very sure they could have. So I like Paris Johnson a lot as a player. He was my number 2 offensive lineman. Many had him as their number 1, and I get it. I think he's very good. So, as a whole, the entirety of it was very good, what the Cardinals did. They should have been winners. That was a mistake by me. And I like Paris Johnson a lot as a player. If the worst case scenario is, hey, after trading down and getting a ton of value, you traded back up a little bit and maybe reached a little bit, because you see, on the chart, what the numbers are. He was 6 taken. He's 13 on the consensus big board. Okay, you've reached by 7 spots. All right, come on. I was too hard on him. And that's a mistake by me. But yeah, anyways, the rest of the draft, because he'll be a good player. The rest of the draft, B.J. Ojulari, brother of Azeez Ojulari, which is interesting because they're very similar players, kind of these pure pass rush guys, which for, a round 2 pick, I'm totally fine with. They pick him with 41. He was 49 on the consensus big board. I like this move. See if you can go out and get someone who can, who can rush the passer effectively. Again, for Arizona, they're in a position where they don't really have to pay attention to need too much. Really just kind of go out, see if you can get good players. I mean, you look at their edge rushers. A couple guys I liked that they drafted last year, Messiah Sanders, Cameron Thomas, but keep taking swings. You could start to get some hits potentially. So big fan of that pick. Garrett Williams, another guy who, I don't believe he ran to 40 time, and that is something I look at when it comes to corners, is how fast you are. So unfortunately don't have that. Didn't have the best production in college, certainly, and this is a bit of a reach, right? He was 95th on the consensus big board, goes here at 72, though, but, at the same time, has a very good athleticism. He is 5'10", so fine enough size, not overly small or anything like that. But I think one of the things that really he excels at is his footwork and is his hips. The hips are very good. Does not get beat too often. So for pick 72, to me this is it's a fine pick. It's whelming. I'm not in love with it. I don't hate it either. Next up on the list, Michael Wilson, who, when you see the 4.58 speed, that's a bit of a bummer. You also see was 126 in the consensus big board, but you drafted him at 94. That's a bit of a bummer. But at the same time, I think there's still things to like about him. He's 6'2", so he's certainly a bigger player for sure. Part of it is he just couldn't get on the field enough, which is unfortunate. So, was able to get the production. He was able to get the stats, which is very good. Per snap stats are very good, but there's not a ton of snaps, unfortunately. So, definitely a bit of a flyer, but at pick 94, I don't really hate getting a flyer that much. I'm not overly mad at it. John Gaines, offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, so it's a reach, right? They picked him at 122. He was 207 on the consensus big board. You know me. I don't like reaching. Don't reach. Make sure you get fair value. And yes, when you select the guy at pick 120, that the consensus says should be around 200, more often than not, they end up playing like a guy who should have been around 200 than around 120. That being said, again, you know me. When it comes to offensive linemen, I like to look at analytics. His analytics are good. Not great. not great, but they're solid. For where you're drafting him, they're good. You don't tend to get guys at 140 that are that good. Should be could be a solid depth player. I don't think I see him as much else. But who knows? Clayton Tune is an interesting player. He had some really good, really good production. Again, a guy who great PFF grades in back-to-back years, over 90 each of the past 2 seasons. I was a little surprised by this pick. I feel like I'd be fine with just having Colt McCoy be the backup next year, but maybe they feel like, okay, let's maybe, plan for the future at the backup position. I certainly don't think that they are planning for the future as a starter. I don't think that you're not even considering that. Kyler's a starter, that's it. But could he be a quality backup? I think it's possible, and I think that there's a chance that he does end up being a quality backup, and that's what they draft him for. The final 3 picks of this draft, I thought they did a pretty good job of getting players who still feel like could be players. I think sometimes when people get this far into draft, when we're getting past the 150 mark, teams kind of say, okay, let's just get some special teamers, let's get some unique players. I think stay the course and make sure you still get some players who people like, and that's, I think, what they did here. Owen Papo is maybe how you say his name. A lot of names I gotta learn. Always tough draft season. Production not great, although solid last year. First year that we saw him as a solid player, still would not be getting drafted on his production. But the guy's 6 feet tall, 225, and runs a 4.3. And that's kind of what they're drafting him for. Hey, let's just get a freaky athlete in here. Worst case scenario, we got a special teamer. But best case scenario, maybe we can teach him how to, play the linebacker position a little bit better, and he could be a legitimately good linebacker. So, it's an area where they could improve upon the linebacker position. They added Kaiser White, which is a nice add, I think. But still, Zaven Collins, I think, is solid. But, you could improve is what I'm trying to say. And he is someone who has that kind of home run hitting ability. Maybe it won't work out, maybe it will, but we'll see. And then Catrell Clark, the cornerback who, ran a 4.42, kind of feels like he, is someone who I do think, like Papo, will be someone who is going to play some special teams. But that doesn't mean he's only going to be a special teamer. Another guy who does have athleticism, did not have production really at all at the college level. Since kind of has gotten worse each year actually, but did have a good 2020 year, or at least a solid 2020 year, I should say. So maybe there's potential with cornerbacks. They are very fluky. Just get a good talented player and hope it works out. And then finally, Dante Stills, who is someone who has good production actually. He has a great run defense analytics, which is great to see. So Dante Stills could be a steal in this draft class, quite frankly. Someone who I think was a really smart pick. So yeah, a lot of late picks I really liked. Paris Johnson, I think, will still be a good tackle for them. Again, I have slight nitpicks about the trading up, slight reach. I think it'll still be a really good tackle, so who cares? And they got a ton of draft capital from trading down, and didn't have to trade up as much. Give up as much on to trade up. BJ Ojulari should be very good. And out of these many other picks, they had a ton of picks. The average team has 8 picks in the NFL draft because of comp picks and everything. It's like 8.09 is the average. They ended up with more than that. So get some extra swings and see what happens. And I think it could be good. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Cardinals draft. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.